before I mess it up, what's that Korean word they keep saying?
Inyeon.
Like, Inyeon.
Yeah.
I was gonna butcher it. I was about to say umami. I'm like, it's not
Umami,
That's
bro. Oh my god.
Isn't
We're
that a
live.
food?
This is all being
Flavor.
seen by people.
flavor.
It's
Wiki,
a
you can have a lot
flavor.
of flavor. You can have flavor between people.
Umami is like the flavor
I
MSG has.
couldn't remember.
It's okay, Tate. It's
boys,
okay.
also...
Will it help if I act like I forgot it and then makes you guys look better?
For sure.
Yeah.
Also,
You be like,
if you guys want to talk to people in chat as well, I'd recommend having the YouTube open either on... You probably can't on your phone, but like on your computer
I'll
on
pull it
another
off
tab.
on my second monitor.
So you'll pull it off.
All right.
I can pull it off.
I have.
Oh my god,
I'll
that's
pull
my
them off.
face.
I'll pull them off.
How do I get
All
out of
right,
this?
so
Oh,
You're
I
live.
Boom.
We are live.
Johnny, could you do a thing where it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot the word. Tate, you were like really supportive during Asian Heritage Month. You know the word? And in that way.
We're doing Duolingo for Korean for like a week. What's the word?
I can't believe you guys.
Like, wow. Funny enough, Inyeon, 8,000 layers.
All right.
We have 8,000.
Well, welcome, my friend.
Oren.
It is a film that you should definitely watch. All right. Give me a second.
Yeah, I'm just seeing... Oh, I'm going to put my camera on here. I'm just seeing in the chat here, we've got somebody asking, what's past lives? And if you are listening...
You're
to past
about to
lives,
find out.
Oh my god, I need to turn the audio down. But
Yeah,
yes,
you do.
you are about to find out.
Past Lives.
Film that came out
It's
this
an
year.
MCU film.
We cannot wait to talk about it. We've got someone in chat as well in YouTube. Hey Woosh, thanks for joining us. I'm eating a bit of yogurt. Delicious. Oh, I forgot to grab my drink. I'm actually gonna have a drink because I'm gonna need it for this film.
Go for it.
All right.
The heartbreak.
All right, Jonathan,
Step
you
of
are in.
Okay.
Give us a second, guys. We're getting all this. Now, if we might have to edit this on the live on the channel just to shorten the beginning, if we can.
100% you will.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all good. I should probably go back and do that with some of the older episodes too, because we just leave them up there.
We
as just
should.
live, but I'll leave that in my notes to go check out. But guys, thanks for joining us early. You get to be here for the unhinged, unplanned stuff as we set up. We're here today with Johnny and Keegan and myself and Tate as well to talk about Past Lives, new film that came out this year that Keegan hadn't seen, so we've put a bit of pressure on him to watch that one. We're going to kick off shortly and yeah, have a really good chat about it. Unhinged is my fave. We know, Kit.
Oh, yeah. There we
Family
go.
programming.
John, did you get in? I keep inviting you to live, and you don't accept.
All right, back in a second. Get a drink.
I don't have the
He's a
option
shitty
to.
person.
It says your previous request to join this live as a guest will be withdrawn. No, I don't want to leave though.
I am ready to join the live.
Okay.
Okay, you want to? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna leave and then I'll hop back in.
Yeah, try
Look,
that.
I'm ex-
Oh, wait a minute.
Look at
Hold
me.
on. It was guest request. For some reason, you sent me one, and it just was canceled out.
Okay, there we go. Then you send it to me, and then I'll accept.
Got you.
Looking.
Yep.
I'm in the live.
Down
Look at
there.
that. Can you hear
Alright,
me
look
well in
at
the
you.
live? I put in my second microphone.
Oh look, it's the
Oh.
fact guy.
It's the fat guy here to talk about.
The fat guy.
The
Hold on.
fat
Let
guy.
me hear.
Even though
you.
he's skinnier than me.
All right.
I got
Yeah,
these
You're
muscles.
sounding great, Tate.
Bam. No, we good.
Oh, my man, you know I love sea shanties. Like that's the thing.
You must have loved that period of TikTok then.
Oh, buddy, that's when I discovered how much I loved it.
Ah, fair.
That's when I was like, oh yeah, absolutely.
I discovered it playing Assassin's Creed 4.
That started it, but but because I hadn't been playing that in a while, it kind of like simmered in the back of my mind. But it was like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then I got later on, I was like writing stuff that was kind of fantasy, and that tends to be a lot of that kind of stuff there.
Ooh, there he is. There he is.
All
that
right.
looks like water. That looks like water. That's
The
straight up
universe
water.
just saw my
It
pajama
must
pants.
be.
That looks like water. Just tell,
And
what's the drink?
JJ's in
What's
chat
the
on
drink?
YouTube. How exciting is that?
Oh, would you look
JJ
at
says,
that?
what do we have here? Love
JJ.
you all. We love you, JJ.
We love you,
Love
JJ.
you, JJ.
Yeah.
Alrighty, is everyone ready to kick off? I feel like
Yeah, baby.
I'm ready to kick. I'm ready to kick people. Yeah.
I feel like Hae Sung here with his
This
friends. Being like,
Kicking?
tonight
I
we
wanna
drink
do
till we
some
die.
kicking.
There's a pretty good comments in the TikTok chat. You see that?
What do we got here? The facts guy
Yeah,
here to
we
speak
got plenty.
facts.
He's facts guy in the comment section said, "Who's the sexiest one with the films member?" Ooh,
Oh,
that's a
well,
good question.
I mean, yeah.
Ooh.
That's a good question, guys.
Well, listen, why would we,
right?
you know,
Yeah.
just,
It's not right. Not on my end.
you know, we're
You're
not
pointing at
gonna.
nothing.
All right,
Pointing
well,
at
here we
nothing.
go. We're gonna get going.
All right, let's get going,
Uh,
guys. All right, so we're gonna go. Oh, hold on.
Hold up. He wants to shake his
Pull out
ass.
his cat or something.
Oh,
Oh shit! Okay, very official.
Wowzer.
I didn't hear the clicking.
Oh, you didn't hear the
No,
click?
no, no. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
I'll put it
One more
right
time,
here.
one more time.
It might
Feeling.
be,
We're feeling.
Did you get that
There
sound?
we go.
All right, cool.
I think
bit.
so. I think that Discord assumes that's a loud noise. It needs to cancel
It's
out,
like
which
noise
is
It
cancellation.
very.
does probably.
Yeah.
Well,
Good to
it's-
know. Good to
It
know
went through my
works.
microphone here, so anyway, begin.
So it'll be all good on the end of recording. All right, here we go.
Right.
All right. Good morning, New Yorkers. This is your wake up call just to make sure that you are about to have a good day. Now, wait a minute. This didn't wake you up? This didn't. All right. All right. Well, listen, I can bring it. Listen, Californians can at least bring it to New Yorkers. Let's go. Welcome back, all of you melancholic fucks. Good evening, afternoon, morning, dusk, dawn, or Tuesday to all of you hosier playing, eating cereal straight out of the box types.
Tate.
Welcome to One with the Films,
Yeah.
the only international podcast guaranteed to try and make you laugh while we talk about sad things because we're dead inside and have no shame. I'm the himbo that likes to limbo, the white guy wondering why, the tortoise with a porpoise, your movie came man the third, and everything's fine. I'm having a good time. I'm okay. This is pretty good. And before I introduce the others, I have to say that, you know, I can see why our resident panel of heartbreak experts wanted me to watch this film. And I cannot wait to discuss this as a mostly happy, married, bisexual, polyamorous man with my fellow people. And I say this now because as the blandest person here, I need to defend myself before these maniacs ream me harder than my last date for an hour and a half. But just like our place in the universe, and unlike the plot of a beloved Christmas movie, I'm not home alone. Not just one, not just two, but three other guests. We're repping 3 different countries and Canada, and all experts in breaking hearts, mainly their own. Next in the lineup,
I'm so sorry. I did not expect that. That's so good. I can't even hear your laugh, Johnny. It's silent.
he muted himself, I think, because he
Did you
knew
mute
that I was
yourself?
coming after
You're
him.
muted.
No, he's just on a different frequency right now.
He is.
He's operating in
His mic-
wavelengths.
Truly,
what-
we cannot hear John.
Can't hear you at
The
all, Johnny.
second you didn't recognize him as a legitimate state, he just disappeared off the face of the pod.
Speaking
He's
of
not
which,
with
there
us.
is more for me to continue.
Let's go.
All right, so here we go. Next in the lineup, in this murderer's row of international guests, is a boo-boo and a Subaru. My baby cakes with frosted flakes. My Latin man that don't give a damn. It's the man rarely with a plan. It's Naf.
Hello, my friends.
Thought that was him.
Wait a second, John. You're going to be coming in a second. You guys keep interrupting me. This was when I'm supposed to be like, come on. Like, y'all can't keep it together. Be professional or something, goddammit.
You're
All right,
calling
Naf,
JJ out
say-
in chat as well.
Fair
Hosier
enough.
playing That Was Personal. And she's here for the Canada slander, so sorry, Johnny. You're on your own.
Absolutely.
buddy.
Absolutely.
But yes,
Who's
I
Johnny?
am Naf. I don't know, like, I don't know. You always do such a great job of introducing me as well, and then you go, introduce yourself, and I'm like, I have nothing like what you just said. I'm a
So
sad
can you say that I leave you
boy.
speechless?
Yes, we can. Sad boy
All
with
right.
sad
So
taste in
then I'm
films.
gonna take that as a little bit of a cue. But you are a sad boy with a sad taste in films, and I love you for it.
Me too.
But following closely behind is the sexy hunk of nerds staring daggers at me. I mean, damn, look at this man. He is fine as hell. Some would say marvelous. I put extra L's in
Damn.
there because he's Canadian.
Damn.
And he's
Damn.
a 6 foot something tower of creativity and interesting stories. Is your phone burning, or is that just this man in your DMs? What more can you say about the man, the myth, the legend, Johnny?
Hello, everyone. I'm your beaver tail munchin, healthcare consuming, 6'4" on a good day Canadian.
Oh,
Oh, all right. That was the
Have I
okay.
told you?
I chef's kiss. I
You're
got
not
no follow up.
entertained.
I got no follow up. Except I do, because
oh.
and last but not least,
Let's go. Let's go. Let's hear this.
absolutely. It's my
Let's hear this.
fellow white man here to help me not get canceled or at least expedite the process.
Mhm, mhm.
While he hasn't minced words about the second coming of a female nebulous god known as the Bad Batch, we'll pardon his sins for now and bring his ivory ass into the fold. He's called awesome by many and Derek by no one. He's the perfect little cherub who can't do anything wrong. He's the Jägermeister Meister Jaeger to remind you not to hate and just hate.
Man, it's just like I got a call like right now. I had to cancel. It's from like WB Studios. They're like, "Good morning, Vietnam 2. We need this guy. We need this guy."
Listen, I will.
He does give
follow
a bit of a
in-
Robin Williams vibe, doesn't he?
He does.
It's giving. It's
That's
serving.
giving. In all the right ways.
I
don't know how to top
I
that.
live to serve.
I
Yeah.
don't know how
love
to
to
top
serve.
that.
That is
Um,
beautiful.
I just to go off of that. I am called Derek by a couple people, so you might want to fact check that for next time.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry,
Facts
sorry.
coming in
Okay,
hot.
I'll make the
you
notes.
didn't mention like 4th time nominated White Boy of the Month, so I feel like you
Goddamn.
should really try to include that next. Just
Next
saying,
time?
like people might want to know that.
Sorry, you're right.
But
4th
beyond that, I think
time.
incredibly apt. 5th. Like I
Fifth.
lose count. All the trophies behind me. I just like
Absolutely. Did you lose to Leto again?
I don't talk about Leto.
Oh,
Not on
God.
this
Fair.
Not on this spot.
Listen, I didn't say it was a good list to be on. I just said it's a list. But nonetheless, as we kind of
That's
nonetheless,
a long list.
absolutely. But that's fair. As JJ has put in the chat, we are forgetting about the slut curl. But John's hair is not slutty right now.
No,
It
my
does-
hair
we
is
don't.
really
giving-
bad 'cause I
Yeah,
took a
it's slicked
shower.
back.
It's giving
It-
Spock. It's giving
It-
Spock.
When it air
That is
dries, it'll
fair.
turn into a curl when I go to sleep. That's the secret.
Interesting.
Right.
Well,
see.
Absolutely.
Welcome, our friends. We'll tell everyone
you for
who's
having
listening
us.
a little bit on what we do here for the uninitiated and those that have been around for a while. There was a question just for you in the TikTok as well there, Keegan, from one of your friends there.
Let me see. Yes, polyamorous. We will get to that. But because that would really help a lot of the people in this movie. And
It
now,
would, hey.
It means he's scared of polygons. Can't be with
yes.
Complicate.
No, amorous
Good
is
ratings.
amorous is Latin for love, so he loves polygons.
Yeah, rhombus, trapezoid.
Hey, don't you bring up rhombus in
hexagon,
this time of
this
like, listen, I am live,
parallelogram.
sir. I am
Parallelogram.
live.
Gone.
Okay.
Delicious. Well, let's get off some math and get onto this movie. And
My
welcome,
field of
guys,
expertise.
to season
Yeah.
2,
Why would
episode.
it
Are you trying to fight me right now? Is that what's happening? I'll throw hands.
Speaking
I'll
of
throw hands.
numbers, what episode are we on now?
So welcome everyone to season 2, episode 32 of One with the Films. I forgot the name of our podcast for a second. This is the weekly watch list. This is one of the segments that we do on our podcast. And for the uninitiated, the weekly watch list is where generally Kay and I force each other and you guys to watch some of our personal favorite films, with the ultimate goal of just introducing the other person to something that we adore. It's a little bit different from your standard film podcast. We just kind of circle jerk the same things. There's no circle jerks happening here. Well, I mean, today maybe because I've invited the right guests for it, but generally, not so much. JJ says Tate City out of control. But yeah, the goal is to introduce one another and you guys to hopefully something new, or remind you about something you used to love and just really connect over the love of something mutual. Yeah, so like we said, rather than sit with the big guns that everybody knows are the top 10 films of all time, this is a more personal podcast, and that's why we love it. And from time to time we bring on other people with much better taste than us to introduce us to their favorite films, and we get to listen to them gush about why they love it so much and what makes it like such a personal experience for them. And it's our perfect little slice of the day. Yeah, like we look forward to this every week, getting to talk about what we love and what you love, and getting to talk about it with you. Like this is our favorite thing. And we're so glad to have you with us today. If you are checking us out, you're one of the 7 viewers that are in stream on YouTube today. Thank you so much for coming and check us out live. Same deal if you're live on TikTok. We love talking with you guys, answering your questions, having you guys be part of the conversation too. But all of our episodes are also available to stream on demand afterwards. You can recheck the video on YouTube if you like, and we're available anywhere you find your podcasts. And you can also follow One With The Films on all of the main social medias, your TikToks, Instagram, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff as well, if you want to see what we're up to when we're not in front of your face.
And we would also love to say that on Spotify, thanks to Spotify Wrapped, we know that some of you, we were in your top 5. And we know that it was more than Naf and I, because it was 5 people.
You were one of them. Or exactly, I was one of them.
All right, so we got one of those.
We
so
know
one
that
of our guests
we were our own number 1 podcast, so that's 2 out of the way. But I believe it was like 6 people had us in their number 1 podcast, so 4 other people besides me and you. Awesome. We had...
And one was John.
One was John. Amazing. So. We had, I believe it was 15 people who had us in their top 5 podcasts and 18 people who had us in their top 10 podcasts.
So 5 of you were looking for something else and found us. So thank you for clicking on us, at least. We really appreciate it. And, it's very good to have all of you guys here with us and to listen to our self-deprecating asses talk about movies and stuff that we love. Speaking of which, what film did the 3 of you make me watch this week?
Yeah, awesome. So if you guys are following us on Instagram as well, you can follow the loop of trying to guess the film, then having the film revealed, which we do on this podcast too. And if you stick around to the end of the podcast, we'll be revealing next week's film too. So look forward to that. That being said, for today, we revealed this film nearly a week ago on our Instagram, and it is Past Lives. It's our first time, I believe, doing a film that came out this year, but it came out sort of mid-year, and you kind of missed the boat on this one, didn't you, Kay?
Oh yeah, I mean, as per usual, there's always a couple of these more independent films that are like, you hear about them a little bit, like rumblings on social media, things there, and then people are like talking about, but maybe it doesn't give the intense hype that it should, but it just kind of, for whatever reason, doesn't hit that cultural mark. So it isn't until like this time in the year, when things are kind of slowing down, that I get a chance to kind of catch up on some of the ones that I missed. And since there were a fair amount of films that I was frankly a little disappointed by, getting a chance to watch something that really did impact me in a way from earlier this year was a really special treat.
Yeah, exactly right. So we had, like, I've talked with you about this film before, Johnny, and I've talked with you about it at length as well, Tate. And I had been pushing for Keegan to watch this film for a while now. Since I saw it, I was like, you are going to resonate with this. This is, I know him pretty well, guys, like pretty well. I think I can pick a good movie for him.
Yeah.
I have a perfect run rate of picking films that Keegan loves. He unfortunately does not have the same back, but that just goes to show the level of investment.
Back, you son of a bitch.
It's true.
I'm
sorry.
Blasting me on Maine with West Side Story.
You gave me a dud.
Bitch.
You gave me a dud. You told me I would love it. You threw it at me.
He doesn't understand. Listen,
but
here's the thing.
I believe that you just say no just to spite him. That's the relationship.
You know what I mean?
It could
be. You know
be.
what I mean? See, thank you, my fellow white man, for defending me.
We gotta stick together. We gotta
stick together.
You and me.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. I was going to make a Planet of the Apes reference, and I stopped myself
American.
because I felt like that was not going to go over well.
What is happening in this chat right now is essentially a metaphor for West Side Story. I'm experiencing that in real life. I'm very much connecting with that story.
Movie.
Well, listen, as the Sharks would say, snap. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And so we kind of
with this film,
segues. How about them?
Was I needed a little bit of help with this one because I've been pushing for you to watch it for a while. Okay, like I said, I knew that you were going to love it, and I mean,
and your
honestly,
voice alone wasn't enough to get me to see it.
Yeah, like no hate or no shade. But the best thing about having a podcast with your best friend is that when you want him to watch a film, sometimes all you have to do is, we're doing it on the podcast this weekend, and now it's work, and you have to do it. It just that's how we solve problems.
You did activate the ADHD sense that kind of locks you in and goes like, all right, we gotta do this now.
You're exactly right. And so, I invited some guests to help me out. So the 3 of us, between myself, Johnny, and Tate, who already loved this film, we put a bit of peer pressure on you. We got you watching the film, Keegan. So now everybody here has seen Past Lives. And before we get into kind of why this film matters so much to, I suppose, all of us and kind of what we all knew going into it, let me tell you some fun facts about the film. What do you reckon?
Please do.
Oh my god! Okay, cool.
I'm gonna give you a fun scale of 1 out of 10 of how fun
Oh man,
these facts are.
Absolutely.
No
Tate
mostly-
will grade this, and that will determine
Of course,
how
it's
well
the white
this
man who's just
podcast-
overly critical.
Yeah, I will start sulking
Get
and
him, John.
bouncing
Get him.
if it's not fun.
Yeah.
Get him.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you're
Fuck
next.
the white man, guys.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
No, I said
Don't
I
worry,
want
some of
to
us will.
fuck the white man. No, sorry.
I appreciate
But like,
Oh my god! Here
DM
we
me?
go. Here we go.
DM me?
I'm,
Dungeon
I'm,
Master,
already, I'm
Dungeon
already in your DMs.
Already
That
there.
is true. That is true.
Are
Roll for
sharing a
charisma.
room in
I
like
haven't had my weekly
4
calls.
Oh my God.
5 months.
I just realized, yeah, the 4 of us are sharing a room at DiadCon. This is like the pre-DiadCon.
Yeah.
One
We're
with the
not
films
sleeping.
live. One with the films live from.
One with the
For
films
sure.
after dark.
We should. We
under the
honestly
covers with the
should.
lights off. Let's go.
This is the chaos crew.
Okay,
That's
give me the
what we
facts.
are.
All right,
Give me the
facts.
facts.
let's do some
Facts
facts.
us, baby.
All right,
Fact,
so
I'm the facts
that
guy.
guy.
If these aren't fun, fun.
Well,
This is his domain.
hey, you're not fun facts guy. You're just facts guy. Okay, so settle down.
That is true. I'm
Ooh.
quite boring.
Ooh.
All right, ready. So, released to critical acclaim in mid-2023, Celine Song's writing and directorial debut is an A24 film with a $12 million budget that brought home $20 million at the box office, with an impressive 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd and an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, cementing itself as an instant classic. As of today's recording, it's currently number 1 on IndieWire's 25 best films of 2023, and it's the 4th highest rated film on Letterboxd for 2023. It's starring Greta
That is
Lee and
pretty fun.
Utio. The dialogue in the film is presented, with the dialogue in the film, it's presented as a mostly Korean language film with very minimal English dialogue. Greta Lee actually mentioned in an interview that when she told her family that she got the role, most of them didn't even know that she spoke Korean. Like, her family and friends were like, hold on, what? Which I think is an interesting metaphor for like something we'll talk about within the film of being kind of separate but connected to your culture. I thought that was pretty cool and fun as a fact. And another fun fact is that Celine Song mentioned that during filming, she actually kept the main actors, Greta Lee and Yu Teo, separated for most of the film. Like, that was all done in separate places. Those Skype messages and all of that was done naturally as they were separate. And that was an intentional decision to help, particularly in those scenes where they do connect for the first time later in the film. It's like, essentially, these actors were meeting for the first time in real life as they were filming, that they were meeting for the first time in 24 years. So really cool decision there by Celine Song. It has been regarded as one of the best debuts in recent history, and it's beloved by so many people as it connects with them and resonates themes of nostalgia and the life you could or even should have had. You know, those types of feelings that so many of us normal people so often feel. And I think that that's part of why it's connected with so many people of, you know, different cultures and different upbringings and all these kind of things all over the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful film.
Well done. Well done.
That was
Well
pretty fun.
done.
That was pretty fun.
That was good.
Thanks,
That was
guys.
Very
good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
However,
We're here to
very
hype you
quick-
up.
Very quickly though, Nav, did you know that this is Celine Song's first ever directorial debut? First movie she ever wrote, directed, everything.
Just
almost like
a
you
quick
just
thing
said
for
that.
you. Did you listen to anything I just said?
I
Oh.
clearly missed it. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Released to critical acclaim in mid-2023, Celine Song's writing and directorial debut.
Okay, my ADHD ass got me there. My
You
bad.
try to act.
Do you actually listen,
I
or do you
didn't
just
try
wait to
actually,
speak?
I tried to add on.
It was an and
My
and
goodness.
not and so
Then shit.
You know what?
Oh, it is.
You know,
And so-
I'll throw myself in and potentially join you. Nav, did you know that the film is semi-autobiographical? It is partly based on her experience, but not entirely.
That's really cool. I did not know that.
That was a fun fact, Tate.
Would you go so
that
far as to
guy.
say it was fun? Would you say it was a fun fact?
I would say it was a fun fact. That's beautiful.
I think Johnny disagrees, but it's okay.
No, I agree, but this is why you're the fact guy, and I'm just looking at shame upon myself
and your ancestors.
But that's why it's you,
and
John.
my cattle.
Mm.
And
Well,
my-
let's jump into a little bit about the film. So, just in terms of this one, as we said, obviously myself, Johnny, and Tate have come to today's chat having seen the film. I've seen the film twice, once in cinemas and once this week, for preparation. So I would say I know the film pretty well now. What about yourself, Tate? What's your, I suppose, like connection to the film as of now? Like, you've seen it before?
As of now.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I really struggle when it comes to rewatching films multiple times. I ever rarely do it, and it's not a metric of quality if I do or if I don't. It's
Totally
just
get
purely
that.
like an enjoyment factor. But I watched it. It is so hard to find in the theater because of distribution. It was only kind of like your little art house cinemas that were getting it, or film festivals. So I watched it by renting, and I turned all the lights off in my room, made like a little makeshift theater, and I watched it in the dark at like 1 a.m, which is the ideal theatrical experience for watching such a film, honestly. But no, I adore it. I adore stories that explore memory and yearning and longing specifically. So this really it speaks to all those themes in such a universal language that I think it's going to be. That's why it has such a strong resonance with so many people. It is very universal. It's very easy to jump into, and it has so many specific moments that kind of follow in a beat that once you get to the end, it just wraps up so eloquently. It's such a wonderful and strong directorial debut, and if this is the beginning of Celine Song's filmography, I cannot wait to see the next one. I think it was outstanding.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And what about for yourself, Johnny? How did you come across the film? Obviously, you've seen it before today.
So I came across the film because I was hearing mumbles about it on TikTok itself. I heard about it at Sundance because it came out in January in Sundance, and then it got released here, at least in Canada, around June. I actually had to go a bit out of my way to one of our bigger movie theaters just to watch it, where I did the VIP thing and had like 2-3 drinks in me while watching it. So that was fun. So I've sadly only seen it that one time, and trying to do recall memory on it like 6 months later when I was inebriated was quite fun for me. But honestly, this movie sticks out a fair bit in my memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just heard like, oh yeah, no, this is like a heartbreaking story. I'm like, yay! I love heartbreak. That's why I keep doing it to myself. Let's watch it.
Look, hey, the first step is acknowledging, and you know you're doing it to yourself, so that's a good start. Awesome. And Keegan, having seen the film last night, essentially, I'm wondering what was your knowledge going into the film before watching it a couple days ago or a couple hours ago?
Left of nothing.
Left of nothing.
I would say I kind of was putting 2 and 2 together. I knew it had some sort of romance angle due to shots that you sent me for like thumbnails and things like that. I kind of assumed childhood best friends and things there.
Yeah.
So it was always a thing that I didn't quite, but I really didn't know. I didn't watch a trailer or anything like that since I figured I'm already going to be like kind of going with it. But I guess I just knew that it was like a directorial debut and that Greta Lee was in it, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And
that's enough for you.
I thought it was kind of, I thought it was going to be, I guess I even kind of thought it was going to be a little bit different than it was. I didn't realize it was going to be a lot of like day in the life kind of vibe.
I
thought it was going to
rom-com.
I don't know. I thought it was going to be a little bit more surreal. Like I thought it was going to do not like an everything everywhere in the sense of like multiversal insanity, but I thought it would be interesting and maybe like in not Eternal Sunshine in the sci-fi aspect, but kind of I thought it was going to be a little bit more abstract than a kind of more linear story.
I do. I think it's really interesting that you say that because similarly, like I knew it was a film that I was probably going to enjoy based on started to hear rumblings about it. I intentionally didn't check out a trailer before seeing it in the theaters as well. And I tried to stay away from everything. Johnny, you saw it in like June when it came out. It didn't come out here till like early October or something like that, like or late August.
Okay, so your memory's way fresher than mine.
Yeah, but like I remember like having to sit here and going, all my friends are talking about this film, and like I need to stay away from their conversation. But funnily enough, like I did kind of have this idea that it was going to potentially be like, you know, maybe they die and their souls live on and they just reconnect in the next universe, and they die and the souls live on and they just kind of, I thought maybe something like that. and what I got was something that was just so much more connected
Real and
with
grounded,
the
right?
reality of
Yeah.
what love actually is in the real world. And
Yeah.
that connected with me on a lot of levels. And I went to see it in a cute little theater in like a small town. It's like 40-minute drive from where I am. So it was really, we were kind of the only people in there. So I think me, my friend, and 2 other people. So it was a beautiful experience. Yeah, wicked. Well, we're going to dive into the film, and as we are wont to do on the One with the Films podcast, we're going to give a little bit of a spoiler alert. Now, we're not going to do a full breakdown of the film from start to finish, but all 4 of us here have seen the film, and we're going to be talking about it with one another without really trying to avoid any spoilers. We've got a few topics that we want to talk to, so we'll work through those as well. We do believe that you can still enjoy the film after having watched this if you haven't checked out the film yet. But as is the premise of the podcast, the idea is that you check us out, find out what film we're watching, go home and watch it, and then come and talk about it with us, so you're part of like the crew that's here. But whichever camp you're in, you will enjoy yourself today as we dive into a bit of past lives. What do we reckon, boys?
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Down.
Awesome. So one of the first things that came up when we were talking about the big standouts of the film was it has a very unique style about it. And Keegan, you mentioned a little bit on this before around how it feels like a bit of a day in the life. And I was wondering if maybe you could kick us off a little bit talking about what you mean by that. What did you mean by
absolutely. Well, Naf, here's the thing. Here's what I meant. But in all seriousness, what the film does so well is this film has a very something that I have found in a lot of films that try to do this. I find that it is a very difficult thing that they achieved, which was somehow the film feels very quasi improvisational, like not improvisational and it's funny, you feel like but everything, all the dialogue and all of the moments feel very real without being like too much. Like you have films like I think
like it's not
examples
hidden camera
like,
or found footage. Like
yeah, exactly. Like it feels like it should be. Like I really do want to see what the script of this film looks like because it does feel very hole in the wall, but the shots are so incredibly choreographed. Like everything feels so impeccably planned out.
Yeah.
But it's so subtle that it's almost like they set up everything and then let it dry in the sun until it aged. Like that kind of was the best way I can put it. Is it's just because there's a lot of times people will do this where, especially like you look at this film and even in the very beginning when they're younger, they distinctly identify these 2 characters in warm colors and cool colors. You immediately see him in blues and hers in bright reds. And that is a very particular choice. You see it with kind of directors like Edgar Wright and people like that, but a lot of times it pops.
Yeah.
And it almost to a very clear, I'm trying to identify this character with a color point.
Yeah.
This one, it feels so natural yet distinctive. Like it feels like there's artistry involved, and yet I could also buy that the actors just showed up on set with this.
Yeah.
And that is such a fucking hard thing to achieve by seasoned professionals that I don't know how a directorial debut doing this is incredibly impressive.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys got a similar vibe.
Yeah, it's taking some skills that you feel would generally be developed over years and years and years and years, and it feels like it doesn't feel, what's the word, like someone who hasn't had a lot of practice. And we're gonna dive into a little bit more. You would think something like this would be, like, not to interrupt you, but like you would think somebody like this who this is their first go about, you would think that this film would feel a little bit more clunky or a little bit something with the edges not so refined. Yeah. But this film feels more polished than some of the fucking more than Scorsese's latest film. And so that's the thing. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we are going to dive specifically into some of the cinematography and lighting and color, like in a bit more detail in a little bit as well. So definitely want to hear some more on that. Tate, do you have any thoughts on kind of the performances, the dialogue, that kind of? We were talking about how the film somehow resonates with like everyone, and I'm wondering if you have some thoughts on that.
It's interesting because everyone comes from so many different perspectives when they unpack these things. Keegan's got an acting, performing, like writing background
Analytical
that he
mind,
draws
yeah.
from. Yeah, I
Is
come
that what they
from.
call it? I call it ADHD.
I don't know the names. I don't have my degree yet. Something
Fair.
like that. Paraphrasing. But,
I understand.
anyways, yeah, it's like when I watch films, I struggle to get into the mentality of like, I'm like, damn, how did these people just like turn on that acting brain and that acting switch? But like Keegan said, everything is expressed so earnestly and so with such like an authenticity to it, and I think the resonance is kind of, I would say, in the lingering. A lot of the shots, be it the establishing shots or the close-up shots and whatnot, a lot of it is left to linger, especially when they're going through New York, the scenery, holding on the Statue of Liberty, holding on the ferry. A lot of shots of them just walking around, a lot of like kind of like a hazy daydream kind of feel of kind of just like moving through a scene rather than like cut, 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 cut,
Yeah,
cut, cut.
yeah.
It really lets you linger and live in the experience so much as you're living in the memory, which is what the whole film is essentially about with nostalgia and whatnot.
I would
So I
love
think
to
kind of
add
the
a small
strength of
point to
that.
that, Tate, before you continue, because I loved how you were talking about how those scenes kind of linger, and as you said that, I was thinking about how this film is edited so masterfully that it does kind of disappear. Like you do forget that this film was edited and cut together. It melts from scene to scene, and I think that that's really consistent with what you were talking about. Like it is those long lingering, and when we come to talk on some of the performances, I want to add to that a little bit more as well. But back to what you were saying.
No, absolutely. It's edited to be like a memory, and I think that's really why it's universal. All the way it's constructed,
Edited to be a
the
memory. That's
awkwardness
beautiful.
of it. The thing that I really took away the most, especially with the final moments of the film, is how effectively silence and awkwardness is used to elicit an emotion. It's you can make someone afraid by going boo, and you can make someone laugh by telling a joke. But to make someone feel with the absence of dialogue and the absence of a performance, and just like the stilted awkwardness of day-to-day interaction and
Yeah.
the words not said, that is crazy to me. I always look for the moments in the film that's like, oh, what's the moment? And this film had like five. You know,
Yeah.
it's very impressive.
I do want to
Very
hear some
impressive.
of those specific moments as standouts from you in a little bit as well. But yeah, I think that one of the text messages that I sent Keegan after he finished the film was like, I felt so like cringy and so like film bro-y saying it that I was like, it's so like loud within its silences. Like that's where so much of the dialogue kind of is. And that's what we'll talk to when we get to some of the performances and stuff too. But is there anything else you wanted to add there, Tate, before I jump over to Johnny?
Oh no, send it to my man Johnny. I want to hear what
That's beautiful.
What is he
So,
cooking?
Johnny,
Come on, John, spend it.
yourself, thoughts on
No pressure, no
the
pressure.
style of the film?
Well, it's not too much in terms of the style, but harkening back to what Keegan said about just like the way they've like filmed and shot certain scenes. One moment that genuinely stands out to me was like when they're still in South Korea, and then you have our protagonists splitting off, one going up, one just going straight. It's like when you see that, you don't know what you're in store for, and how much that just symbolized for the rest of the film, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I get that.
Just
And
like
it's one
most
those
of us in
things-
life, we all think we're going straight, and then you have that weird night in college, and then you're like, "Nope, I'm forever changed."
Yeah, I get that.
Sure.
I'll get there.
We
I'll
all
get
relate to
well-
that, right? Like that wasn't just me.
It's
Is that canon?
potentially well one of those things
This
you're
is a
talking
canon
about.
event;
there.
it cannot be changed.
So, Johnny, you mentioned about that
Finished.
scene.
She'll tell us.
You mentioned about that scene of them. You've got what's her name, Nora going up the stairs, and Hae Sung going kind of straight, and the camera kind of follows her up as well. It's one of those things that like generally when you're watching a film, sometimes you go like, oh, like I see what you did there, and sometimes it like works and it lands, and sometimes it's just kind of like it's the director kind of like up their own ass a little bit, like I got you. Look how smart I am, right? With the symbolism. Give what's his name? Oh man, Eric Voss something to talk about in the video. The symbolism of going up the stairs.
New rock star.
Top 10 things you missed in past lives.
When she goes up the stairs, that means she's moving on to a better life, and he's saying living with his parents. Whoa. Yeah,
we
but
love you, Eric.
I think that within
You
this
don't listen
film,
to us, but we love you.
I do love
within
him.
this
That guy's got some
film,
good analyses.
that kind of symbolism is still there. And you get it to the point where at the end of the film, you cut back to that scene for that minute that just like, it's almost,
Yeah.
it's not like a plot twist, but it is like almost a jump scare of like him looking back at her and it's just hard cut. It is probably, to what we were talking about before, Tate, the first time in the film where you notice the edit, where you go,
Yes.
which is
That-
yep, fucking purposeful.
ooh, and it hits like a truck, man. And Poopsie Magoo on YouTube said that, yeah, you gotta let it linger, and yeah, and that's kind of
Thank
what
you, Poopsie.
talks to.
Like a poop, you gotta let it linger.
What?
Are you good?
What
Do
do
need me to
you
get
mean by that,
some?
sir?
Are you good? Are you good?
Well, I want to dive into a little bit more of the filmmaking aspect of it as well, which we'll jump to in just a sec. But I'd love to talk from my own perspective a little bit on
Please do.
the acting and particularly
Hold on.
dialogue.
Yeah, so Nav, you want to talk about the acting and the dialogue. I know that you have a lot of thoughts on this, and I just wanted to make sure that we gave you the floor to allow yourself to, since you've done a great job moderating this panel, I want to allow you to interject your own thoughts in
Fantastic.
this
The
manner.
white person is giving me permission, guys. I will begin. So
You're welcome.
You got the
No,
green
I
light,
didn't.
buddy.
No, I didn't.
now he's gaslighting
Oh,
me.
shit.
Classic.
Oh, that is true.
Hey,
is.
that was the white man
Okay.
combo. High five.
The white man combo. Hold on, I'm clipping that.
He gives us any blankets, we do not touch them, Naf.
Oh,
All right, Tate, we got to put the blankets back.
Oh my god, bro, that is.
See the one right behind you,
Okay,
Keegan.
so moving on from that,
All right, let him cook. Let him cook.
Let him cook. Let the man cook.
this kind of weaves together, I think, all of our points quite a bit. I'm gonna, just let me cook a little bit here. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was Greta Lee and her performance. And I think that, just confirming, I'm the only person that's seen this film twice, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Cool. I'm gonna go out here on a limb and say it requires a second viewing. And I'm going to add to that and say it is better and it hurts so much more on the second viewing. I actually
wanna hurt more.
had to kind of like pause and do some other things in between, because once you know where the film ends, all of those little silence moments that we do pick up on in reflection, when you re-witness them and you understand the planning behind that choice, I had, and I still have within my stomach, this pit of... Do you know how recently people started talking about Revenge of the Sith in the sense of like you watch it and you just hope it's going to be different that time?
Yeah.
That was my feeling towards
I
this
hear
film
you.
this time. Like,
Yeah.
did I get
I
the
can see
wrong
that.
cut? Did I get the wrong cut in the theater? And I'm going to see the real one now that I rented it on Apple TV. Like, that's how I felt. And I think particularly Greta Lee's performance stands out to me, and UTO's as well as Hae Sung. And the only other prominent character in the film is Nora's husband, John, I believe his name is. Let me just confirm quickly.
What?
He's white. It's probably John.
The actor's
It's
name is
probably
John. The character's name is Arthur.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's John. He's
Cartoon character.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Made
for
us
sure.
smarter, dude. Like,
for sure.
So, it's within those moments where, particularly in the final scene, where the camera is lingering, the Uber's there waiting, we have wind that is pushing Nora's dress in the direction of Hae Sung, and her body is almost moving there a little bit here, where you're just kind of like, it makes you feel... It made me kind of question my morals as a human a little bit, and then also kind of reaffirm some beliefs that I've come to agree with around relationships and how they work lately, which is part of one of our alternate titles. But
Oh yeah.
there was a point where I started kind of sitting there going, what is wrong with me that I want her to run away with him? And I really, in that moment, felt for her husband as well, who's sitting there, and there's a little monologue he gives when he says to her, "You dream in Korean." And she's like, "I didn't know." And he's like, it's kind of why I wanted to learn Korean, because like it's this piece of you that I don't get to connect with. And depending on your perspective going into the film, you could look at his perspective as one of insecurity or jealousy or things like that. And I think that those are all really valid and honestly real emotions that I believe the character had. Like, I know that there's no doubt that if I was dating somebody from a different country, their childhood sweetheart came here to see them, I would have a piece in my heart that goes, am I doing the right thing by being here? Should I let them go? Like, this guy is so
I wonder what that's like.
With the concept of compersion, which is to feel genuine happiness through the happiness of others. And it's a word that comes up in the concept of polyamory quite a bit, because it is being happy for seeing your partner experience love with someone else. So that's kind of what it falls into. And this guy has kind of somewhat figured out that concept without even like trying. And I think that particularly, like we were saying, Greta Lee's performance, there are these moments, and in that final sequence of the wind blowing and all of this, there aren't that many words, and there are all of these looks is what they are. Hey, my two creditors has joined in YouTube chat as well. Good to see you, my boy. Miss you, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you are in chat, feel free to drop us a like and stuff as well, and on the TikTok. But it's in the looks and the lingering gazes that Greta Lee particularly provides us that really sell what's going on in here. Because we kind of know, like, I think we all have had potentially that person that you grew up with, that even if you were like a kid and it was like 9 years old or 4 years old, like I remember like my first little like a neighbor that lived four houses down, that I kind of like, parents were like, oh my god, they're so cute together, they're gonna get married. That I still remember so much about this person that is just not part of my life at all and hasn't been for nearly 30 years.
To clarify,
when I was that age as well.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Just wanted to make sure, because
sorry,
as Tate's reaction was a perfect way to get us canceled.
No,
like,
so,
I was just like, when I was 4, I was like eating glue and playing with Lego. I was like, shit, man, I missed out.
So that's like, what happened.
Same.
So...
But the thing is that like how her parents, how their parents talk about them when they were kids is something that like my parents did as well. And there were those little things of like, oh yeah, they're gonna get married, ha ha ha, like it's like all together, like blah blah, like that was a thing. And
everybody has
like
I feel like everybody kind of has a little bit of that.
Yeah, like I remember her. I remember being like 4 or 5 years old and being at the playground playing with some random kid, and like I don't know how I met this person. I don't remember how I'm not connected to them anymore, but I remember that. And I think it's a very real thing that often we experience with people. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be at that age. It can be as you're growing up. It can be the first love you have that didn't work out the way you wanted to. And it's like we were talking about just before the stream started. It's somehow nostalgic, but for a future that you're not going to get anymore. It's this weird kind of loop. And Kate, if you had something to add on there.
Well, yeah, like obviously we're talking about kind of, visuals as well as, kind of the nostalgia there. Yeah. And I feel like what this film really does very well is this film is very, very meditative in the sense of it pairs these visuals with this incredible performance and dialogue. Again, as Tate said brilliantly earlier, the idea that it feels like a memory. I agree, like almost to a point of, yes, I talk about the stuff that I did notice, but it's so subtle in how it takes you from moment to moment that you don't even almost realize the brilliance of what it's doing until you all of a sudden have a moment and you're like, oh my God, I'm watching it unfold. And you're talking about it similar in how that transitions through the performances. One thing I kind of want to open it up to the floor, and I guess I'll kind of go into a little bit of my own.
Yeah.
This the story and the way that it resonates, and I think this is kind of a good spot to also highlight these actors and kind of what brought out in you guys, whether it's something that you resonated with personally, or it's something that kind of, whether it's Greta Lee's performance or everybody there. With the story for myself, this is a very personal one. I know we joke about it, like, but my wife and I, we met. And she's from Italy, born and raised, and came out here to pursue film. And hey, Eliana in TikTok, good to see you over here.
Hiya.
But with it, she came over here, and one of the ways we started dating was I was in Arizona, she was in California, and we ended up basically doing exactly what they did with like Skype. That is straight up exactly what happened to us.
Mm.
And so I'm watching this film, and what was very odd for me was we had met earlier on in life too, and then reconnected later on. So what was kind of crazy was I texted Naf, because Naf was like, I thought that you would really resonate with this. And I was like, yeah, but the weird thing for me is I have been both of these guys to the same person.
Wow.
Like, I have been the
Mm.
person from a long time ago that has kind of grown up and we missed a certain part of our life, but also the person that knows her now, separated from her culture, and kind of who she's becoming outside of that culture that she came from, but also being able to go back to Italy with her and meet my in-laws and talk to people there and see her in her culture. And it was very interesting to see that from two different perspectives that were two very extreme perspectives on either side for what I've lived, but seeing that so rawly portrayed was very beautiful and haunting, and very much felt what it was like to live. And again, I would love to actually show this to her and get her take on it.
Yeah.
But from what I saw and what I've experienced with her, it's like this film was very, especially a lot of the talk of immigrating and feeling like she feels more Korean with him, like, but simultaneously less.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like it's a weird thing of she's able to see the culture in someone else
Yeah.
and then see what America brings to her own life as well. Like, and I think that that's a very nuanced thing that I don't want to speak on too much because I'm not her, but it is something that I have seen, and to see the film talk on it with such elegance and interesting thoughts was
Yeah.
a very beautiful thing. And and also definitely, I think, similar to you were hinting at it earlier, but with my own life choices of going with a more polyamory lifestyle, it also definitely opened up a lot of thoughts in regards to that with this film. Like, obviously we joke around that this entire film could have been solved with the concept of polyamory, but that there would be no problem with it if that was the case. But I think
That's
it's
the
really
version of the film
beautiful.
we're gonna write.
Oh, for sure.
And
It's
starring and
poly lives.
Yeah.
And and so
yeah. Can I be in it?
Well, I think that
yeah,
what
well,
you were talking
I mean,
about.
you already are. You're in
You'll
my
be
DMs,
one of
so it's
many.
gonna be fine.
I
And
think
so,
that's what you were
us
talking about as
together.
well there,
Hey,
Keegan.
DianeCon, everybody. And so, but
Well,
going
we'll
with it, I'm curious to know what you guys also like experienced. Like Tate, you like I don't know what resonated with you when you watched this. What was kind of the things around that?
It's interesting. I've had this thought about this film for a long time, and obviously, like we meme and we joke and banter aside, but I'm coming from a pretty privileged perspective on this. So if it's overstepping, just let me know. But it's weird because the concept of immigration is it's a literal definition of moving from being a migrant from one place to the next. So, and often in media and when we engage with it, when we see migrant stories, it's very it's coded to like marginalized peoples and people of color and whatnot. But I mean, I often wonder with myself, am I a migrant? Am I someone that has moved? Because I've moved from my country, my home, and I've moved to a place that now is foreign to me, and I definitely feel weird in it. But there's a kind of sense of like, what does it mean to be a migrant? What does it mean to be removed from a place, right? That's kind of like a weird feeling that we have. And I think with this film, it's kind of speaking to this idea of how nostalgia and memory is really tied to the migrant experience. And that's a universal feeling that everyone kind of shares, irrespective of where you come from. And the kind of the inherent beauty in being able to, everyone can share in this experience. It stabs the same, it cuts the same, it feels the same, and it is very much a universal migrant story in that sense. There's a part in around the middle of the film because Nora is a screenwriter. She writes, I think for plays.
Yeah,
if I'm
playwright.
not mistaken.
Yeah.
She writes
Yep.
for plays.
That's correct.
She writes for plays, and she's listening to one of the other people who's like writing a story, and the character is writing basically the story of past life. She's reading her play. She's like, oh my gosh, I am like an Asian migrant who has moved to this country, and I feel like she's kind of reading off the play, like the script of the film, word for word. And Nora kind of like rolls her eyes. She's kind of like, yeah, yeah. And what I read that was, for me personally, and again, feel free to check me on this. I think within the current like Western lens of diverse stories, especially when it comes from creators of color, you these stories are only recognized and respected if they're stories of, oh my gosh, we've come from such hardship and now we're back up. You know what I mean? There's never been like a celebration of the diversity and the richness of stories that come from such creators. You know, it always has to be like, oh, it has to be like a black suffering story. It has to be like, oh, it has to be a slave movie. It has to be the hardships of our history. But then when you get films like Crazy Rich Asians, which was just like, yeah, celebrating like our culture and our heritage in a big way, not a suffering story, but like an excellent story.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of like celebration. So for me, what I feel like Celine is kind of saying is like, yeah, this is kind of, I'm speaking from my experience as an Asian migrant who has come and what I've gone through. But this isn't a story about what it means to be an Asian migrant. It's very much this universal experience of what it means to migrate, and to have one's identity migrate, and what it means to have that intertwined with the nostalgia and memory that all people can connect with. And I think for that reason, personally, that's the universal aspect. That's why anyone can connect to this film. There are obviously the layers that you can engage with, and different people will approach it. But I think for that reason, it has such universal resonance, and I have to applaud it. I apologize for the yap, but that is
No, that's
I've been
beautiful.
thinking
It
about
was
I think
that.
you touched it
absolutely
really well.
beautiful.
I've been thinking about that from the jump, and I've just that to me is like, again, debut film. That's marvelous. That is incredible.
Marvelous, Johnny.
People strive their entire exactly. And speaking of which, John, I would love to know your thoughts on all of this.
I mean, because like, unlike Tate though, because like Tate, you're a first generation immigrant, whereas for me, I am a second generation. So
yeah,
that right there is like a fairly different experience. And then add in the fact that, you know, we come from different cultural backgrounds for sure. But Keegan, you said the line that honestly impacted me the most was that when Nora hangs around, was it Hae Sung, she feels less and more Korean. And genuinely, that's something I personally experience every single day, just because, you know, with being second generation immigrant, the cultural identity that I experience almost every single day is like, you guys even see it. Like I almost always scream about me being Canadian more than I probably do about Asian, with an occasional like, why do you hate Asian people here, Keegan, kind of joke here and there.
Hey, wait a minute.
It's interesting to say that because like Dyad in the Force, Dyad, who just joined us in the chat on YouTube, actually congratulated us on scoring Benedict Wong on the podcast. So I mean, I think they see your Asianness more than your Canadianness there.
That's the thing, right? Because at the end of the day, I look like if I were to just be silent, sit in a cafe, and you were to come up to me, you'd assume I'm gonna start speaking with an accent. And that is something that I've battled with myself every single day, which is why I talk so much out of my asshole. Is
that why?
Well, that and just because, you know, ADHD.
Here I thought it's because you were
just so
dedicated.
that I can drive home the fact that like I know English, I don't have the broken English accent, whatever. So when she does hang around,
another language as well, Johnny?
I speak Mandarin and Cantonese as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So, yeah. So to have that experience of like when you're around your own people, not only do you feel included, but you still have the, as you say, Nav, two opposing truths at the same time.
Yeah.
It exists. Right down, not just in love, but to the cultural center, which is what resonated the most for me. Because like when I'm around my white friends, they'll a lot of the time just like, you know, we also forget you're Asian sometimes just because of how you act, talk, whatever. And then when I'm around my Asian friends, you know, like I feel included, but at the same time, I just realize like I'm not as Asian as I think I am, as much as I like to think I am, even around my own parents. It's not the same because, you know, I'm not exactly fluent in Mandarin or Cantonese or anything like that. I still need to ask my parents, what does this mean? How do you say this kind of situation? So, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely have some thoughts on this related to like my experience as well. I think that Kenny also says, "What did I miss? That what the hell? Congrats, holy crap." Oh, I think he's talking about the Benedict Wong thing. No, that was a racist joke there, Kenny.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. He's
Wait.
He's literally right
Here he
here.
is.
Wait, does it help if I pull back all my hair?
My God.
Should I shave?
No.
I loved you in Black Mirror. Wow, you're amazing.
Sorry, not Kit Kats too?
It's
Yeah, and
Well,
yeah,
I thought that was a given.
one of the things that one of our topics we wanted to talk to today was like with culture, and I like how these topics kind of like blend together as we have the conversation. Like we've covered most of the things we want to talk about, and particularly to a couple of things you were talking about, Tate, and then also Johnny. Like I'm second generation immigrant as well, and I recognized over like recently like the effect that that's had on me as I've grown up, for a couple of things. One is I was born here. My dad arrived from El Salvador when he was 16 years old. My mum arrived from Uruguay when she was 8 months old. So my mum's from Uruguay, my dad's from El Salvador. And I've always sat and told people that I was Salvadorian, or for those people that didn't know where El Salvador was, I just said Mexican because like it's close enough and that makes it easier for the white people. And as we tend to do, we make life easier for white people.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate it. It really goes a long way.
Listen, Tate and I really, really appreciate that kind of stuff.
It
How
means something to
courteous
me,
of
man.
you. Exactly.
I'm glad.
You know, it's
That
just
being
really
said-
hard to be like, sorry.
Be the dominating race with all the advantages.
You're right. It's just feel bad for me, please. Sorry, but continue.
Being like growing up most of my life here, and particularly something that I've picked up as I've gotten more into like media and understanding the levels of representation that was needed. Like I never felt like I was lacking for that. Like I've told people, and like I know that I'm mostly like white passing essentially, or like white presenting. Like I don't sit here and like argue the shades difference. If somebody told me I was like a white male, I'd be like, okay, sure, that's fine. I've got that privilege. Yeah. Outside of that, I didn't realize how disconnected from my culture I was until I started exploring that more. And it came in a couple of ways. One was because my mum was born here. We had our Uruguayan culture through like our grandparents and stuff, but like when we weren't at our grandparents' house, like it wasn't a topic of conversation. Like I didn't know what it meant to be like, for example, like Uruguayan. And it was something like being in a long-term relationship with somebody who was from that country as well, that had a lot more connection to it, that kind of awoke that part of me a little bit, and connecting with their family and seeing how they, who were first generation immigrants, like lived their life, kind of like showed me what I was missing. And it showed me the aspects in which I connected with them a lot more, and the aspects in which I was not connected with them. And it does kind of make me long for the life that would have had me more connected to my heritage. And, you know, that's part of like post-DiadCon. Like I'm going to El Salvador, like I'm going to my dad's home country. I'm going to explore what it is. You know, I want to connect with that more. But like I've lived a fairly like normal life here, you know, like it hasn't been difficult for me. And I haven't had to struggle with the things that other people may have struggled with as they migrate between countries. But like particularly that scene where Nora is talking to her husband, and again, it's kind of framed to have your eyes looking at her husband as opposed to her in the background just talking about, oh, he makes me feel more Korean and less Korean, and he's so Korean, and that's so Korean, and when he does this, it's so Korean, and he's masculine in a Korean way. And you just have Arthur there, and his kind of reactions to it, where he doesn't really know how to take that. And I can imagine what it would be like to be somebody like listening to that experience, which is probably what I imagine Keegan's going through right now, listening to all of us talk about it. He's Arthur, we're Nora. But the main point was,
I'll be Arthur any day.
The main point
Be
was
the man in the way.
Except with a better beard. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
you have a better beard.
Yeah, 100%.
It's beautiful.
Actor, great job, man. John, you listen here. Not you, John, the actor John. I'm talking to the actor John right now. What a brilliant job you played at being the awkward white guy at any part of anything.
Like, well, Like,
but
I,
but go ahead,
yeah,
Neff.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have serious topics
Mhm.
to talk about that as well.
Yeah,
But like,
absolutely. Well, yeah. So I think the main thing was that like I feel that even though I was born in the country that I'm in now, like those moments that Nora has where she's connecting with, like when I've talked to family from overseas or connecting with other people that are of like similar culture, like overseas, like it does confuse you sometimes. Where when I was in LA last year, I'm like, I'm so confused because one, there are so many more people here that look like me, not just like in a general like they have olive skin, but like I'm like I think I might be related to you. Like, what is your surname? Oh, it's the same as mine. Chances are somewhere down the line, like we're family, right? It's so weird because at the same time I look at that and I go, this is like me, this box, I'm in this box with these people, and at the same time I look and I just feel so separate from it. And again, like I'm bilingual too, like I speak Spanish fluently and I can have no issues there. And I'm not concerned about going to those countries next year, like I'm gonna be fine. But like it does activate that sense of like longing of what would my life have been had my parents either maybe met here and moved back over there or stayed over there, or like it does adds a lot of questions, and it does awaken this profound sense of yeah, like longing for something that like I didn't even know I wanted. And Kay, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
well, it's more. I wanted to make a comment on stuff like that. Like, I guess a couple of thoughts that occurred to me. One is that I think that that's one of the scenes that I also think, again, from my secondary experience, hearing a lot of these stories and hearing a lot of like friends, obviously you and I being best friends, like hearing you talk about it,
Sorry, who are you?
which I think this is the like, what was that?
Nothing.
All right. And so as we like go on with it, uh hearing like Ali talk about things and very much you know other aspects, my what I find so interesting about this film is they really nail that concept of course you wonder what if. Like of course you do. But the film doesn't try to demonize it in any way, shape, like I think the
Her
film
husband
in a
doesn't even
brilliant way,
demonize it. They
which
have
is
a
such a I
genuine
mean
conversation about it.
it's such an interesting thing, which is why I like Tate bringing up the fact of semi like autobiographical. I could imagine so. Like I feel like those conversations are taken from real conversations she's probably had
Yeah.
with a partner, because those felt like, I mean, that is what I've had. Like I talked to you and I'm like, I'm not being facetious. I have had these literal beat for beat, word for word conversations with Ali. And like it's such a fascinating thing that I'm like, that can only come of if you lived it. Cause I feel like the easier choice narratively is to have the husband demonize this.
Hmm.
And like I don't want to see like if this was a traditional film, you would have the husband be the antagonist.
Yeah.
Like you would have the husband be, instead of being a
He calls
character
that
that you,
out
and he literally is saying like
I feel like the
in
villain.
I feel like the
Yeah.
villain here.
in the
And
story.
it's
Like I'm the bad guy. I'm the guy who stops you from being with him.
Yeah.
and Ali and I have had similar conversations about the not to the fullest degree of
Yeah.
that given situation, but we talk about, like what would things have been like in, your like old life, like kind of like what's the things that you give up or things that you continue going on. And I think that that's what's so that the film nails is that none of the characters and none of the experiences are demonized. Nothing is saying that, the guy is wrong for having this infatuation
Mm.
with her. Like the film doesn't demonize anybody in this situation. It doesn't even make you feel like in the film almost, but not in a like a morally gray, how do you feel about this? It kind of just says this is the situation. It's neither good nor bad, it just is.
Mm.
And not a lot of films have the courage to do that in a way that's not, oh, ambiguous because you're supposed to feel a little wrong
Mm.
about what you just saw. Like something was wrong about what happened, but it's almost like this film takes that feeling and turns it on its head and says, no, this is just what it is.
Yeah, it's not
And
wrong, it's not right. It just is, right? It's a feeling.
That's just love.
Yeah.
yeah.
Tate had a point
Tate,
you wanted to come to in a bit as well, so we'll come to you.
absolutely.
No, go.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up my thought real quick, and then we'll cut
Go
right
for
over
it.
to you, Tate.
Go for it.
I also think it's just really beautiful that this film, all you guys have been talking about just these incredible experiences and thoughts you've had about your connection with your culture versus something else. Like the only thing I can kind of relate to is more from a standpoint of my sexuality, is feeling that similar sense of relating to people without feeling like I'm the same as them, and being like, oh, we're similar, but I feel like you don't think we are
Mm,
because I'm this way.
yeah.
And and but what I love about this film is the fact that it brings out you guys talking about this stuff. Like, we've talked about the film, but more importantly, we've talked about the connection of what you guys have done. Like, Naf, we haven't really even had a conversation to have this discussion. Like, I'm learning so much about you in this regard, and it's such a beautiful thing to hear you guys talk about it, but not in a way, in Tate, like you opening up about being first generation immigrant, which is just as valid, if not more. Like, nothing's more or less here. Like, everybody's experience is just your guys' experience, but it's just such a beautiful thing that a piece of art can have us learning more about each other.
Mm.
That is like,
That's the goal.
there are so many. That's the goal. That's the
Yeah,
golden
yeah.
standard that I feel like everybody should be heading to.
Mm.
But anyway, Tate, I really wanted to hear more about what you were saying with, like, or what you wanted to bring into this point.
No, I really wanted to expand on what you were saying. Is everyone's been so profound, of course, but I mean, if you want, now forgive me, I'm gonna be a little cringe. I'm gonna be a little corny. I'm on the cob for life anyway, so that's just how it is. But
Cob
even
for
you
life.
talking about, even though you were talking about, like your sexuality and your journey with that, is that not in a sense the Keegan that is now compared to the Keegan that was? That is, and again, I'm very sorry, that
Oh,
is a
God.
past life.
It
That
is.
is quite literally a past self and a past state of being. And as we grow and evolve and change, is the Keegan now the same Keegan from 5 years ago? No. So I think, again, the whole concept of migration is flipped on its head. Yes, it's geographical, but it's also emotional. It's also, the way that you see yourself. It's that sense of identity, especially with, as Naf was pointing out, with his incredibly fun facts, with all the Skype calls. Think about what we're doing right now and the kind of the emotions and the memories that we're making. They are completely oblivious to time and space and place. It's not tied to a place as much as it's tied to a people. Do the people make the place, or do the place make the people? Because you're all spread around the world, but this is our place. This is where the
Yeah.
memories are tied here in the cyberspace. So I think all these questions and the way they're brought up, it brings a whole different definition to what it means. And I think, like you were saying, that's just the beauty of it, how applicable it is to everything. And how another point is just the fact that there are no villains.
Yeah.
I was sitting watching this movie. I was
Where's
a
the
couple drinks
drama?
down.
There isn't drama. It's
I was a couple drinks down, and in my mind, because we're all film bros at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, who's the protagonist? Who's the antagonist? Who's the bad guy? And then I'm like, oh, come on, like, why are you going to harass this woman all the way on the other side of the world for? What are you doing that? And then like 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's trying his best. Why aren't you just letting him be? And then, like you said, especially with your beautiful discussion about the polyamory side of things, being able to have these discussions openly and to not demonize things and to promote healthy discourse, especially with partners. The kind of way that we engage with the film is such a mirror to ourselves in the way that we would engage with it. And it speaks a lot to our own perhaps our internal biases, our internal ideas, and our internal unpackings. I've been in so many situations where there's been a third party, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just, this frustrates me. But then the second time, I'm like, I'm going to try be the better person. Yeah, sure, let's bring this person in. And then it backfires. I'm like, no more.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no more third parties. So it really forces you to unpack the situation. And however you may feel about the nuances, there's always going to be this element of, everyone has a point of view. Everyone's got the emotions tied in this big spaghetti bowl in a different way. and unraveling the complicated, gentle nature of it is, like you said, it's beautiful. Really, really strong stuff.
No, I think you have like such beautiful insights on it as well, Tate. And as you were talking, I was thinking on particularly one scene, and it's one of the last scenes in the. I think I do want to touch on the opening of the film and the ending at some point. We don't have to go into crazy detail on it, but I was just remembering that because I was thinking about the scene in the bar, and it starts with Nora and Hae Sung talking in Korean, Hae Sung talking in Korean, and Nora translating it for John, and eventually he's just kind of like phased out to the point where even he stops being in camera. He's just not part of the conversation, and it does kind of make you feel for him a little bit. And then there's that moment where Hae Sung says, I'm so glad that I got to meet your husband. Like he just sees and he knows and he understands that like I needed to see this as it is. I didn't need anything different from that. But there's a line that Nora says to him, which is essentially, I'll paraphrase and I'm butchering it, but it's essentially like that little girl that you fell in love with exists. She's real. I'm not her anymore. And there is something so profoundly beautiful about that line of just like, I'm not her anymore. It's the sad truth about life is that we'll constantly grow and we'll constantly change, and feelings will change, and all of these things. Like nothing is stationary, nothing is permanent. This too shall pass, you know. It's really sad, but then it's really profound in the sense of showing you how open the door is for like what else, you know, like what else is there for us to experience, kind of like while we're here. And this film also came at the right time for me too, like post ending of like a long-term relationship. Like it adds to so many of those feelings and helps in the processing of that stuff. And yeah, I think that something that you mentioned earlier, Johnny, was around the two opposing truths that exist at the same time, which is just a concept that is very unique to us as humans. Like we have opposing truths often, and we're fighting that within ourselves. You know, I wish this didn't happen, but I'm glad that it happened. Like, and I want to come to your point too there, Kay, but I'm just conscious of I want to throw to Johnny for a bit.
I want Johnny to, but I was more just getting my own thought of.
Yeah.
Just
so
to get you to
I want to jump over
me.
to you in a second too, but Johnny, like what are the feelings I suppose come up to this for you? Like if you wanted to prompt, one of the things that I was thinking of was that the film is shot in New York mostly, and still presented in Korean like the entire time. Like there is something really unique about that fish out of water story. That's not really a fish out of water story. Like, what do you think?
Like, just I remember watching this movie and then finding out like later on as well that I was going to New York. So even just seeing this movie in that respect, just to find out that I would go somewhere like this as well, because like one thing that I realized this film captured really well for my trip is the fact that it captures the scale, and not like how packed it is, but to some extent like the hollowness one can feel while in that big city. And this film does capture that very well. Was one of the things that came to mind. And just overall, like not too much comes up in my head right now. It's just the fact that
what did you think of that scene where they're walking back and Hae Sung has met Arthur for the first time, and they're walking to the bar, and like, what did you do today? It's like, we went to the Statue of Liberty, and John's like, I've never been. That kind of talks to what you were saying there a little bit, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's interesting because, like, just to briefly talk about Arthur, it's just because like all of you guys very much had that perspective of he's not necessarily the bad guy of any sense, and this film goes through so many bounds and leaps to make sure that there isn't exactly a villain for this film. And I absolutely agree with it. And just at the end of the day, like Nav, you were going like, oh, what's wrong with me for wanting her to just hop along with Hae Sung and just leave Arthur, right? And I very much feel the same way. Just at the end of the day, I'm just like, I still wish she left with Hae Sung and didn't stay with Arthur, despite the fact that that was genuinely probably the right choice.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
it's arguable too, right? Like, and Pep in chat just mentioned as well, just on the pronunciation, Hae Sung, Heh, kind of as
Oh.
phonetically Hae Sung as opposed to Hae
I
Sung.
don't know. No, I gotta get my notes app out.
Yeah,
You'll
but
notice
one
I've never
point.
said the name.
The same.
But I think that yeah, you're exactly right with what you're saying there, Johnny. Like it does connect with a lot of those feelings, and it does, like, you do kind of wonder what is the right solution, because even in the middle of the film where Nora comes and kind of like breaks up with Hae Sung, she does it in the sense of like, you're not going to be able to come here, I'm not going to be able to go there, it's just not going to work. It just is what it is. It sucks, but it's just not going to work. And the film doesn't try to pussyfoot around that and have them find a way to make it work. Love always prevails. It's like, it just didn't happen this
Here,
time around. It just
as
didn't
the guy
happen this time around.
who tries to actively try to make things work, yeah, that moment hits hard.
Yeah, like it is on us to accept that sometimes things just don't work, and they're just not meant to work this time around. It's a reminder
also,
that what is meant for you will never pass you.
Yeah, and going to that sense of, with that scene in particular of when they are discussing, we need to kind of stop doing this.
Conversation this year.
I mean, I feel there's a fair amount of us who have had a similar conversation of various different things with that, but or various iterations thereof. But one of the things that I felt with that scene in particular that really stood out to me was, this was how I knew the film had really gotten me interested, because there was the pause between like him kind of going, like, what's wrong? And she does pause for a fair amount and says like, I'm fine. But we all are like watching this and feeling that sense of like, nah,
It's lingering.
something's different.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we, like, this is again the craft of the filmmaking, is there's no real reason other than just sheer body language we should know something's up. And I know, at least I was sitting on my seat, like waiting for her to to explain what, like I was waiting to hear all of the goddamn
reasons.
Like, I just was waiting in between the kind of Zoom delay of dialogue of like, oh, she's processing this and how to answer, but we're not seeing her face. We're seeing him waiting for her answer. Like, from a shot selection and an editing standpoint, it's a brilliant move not to show her thinking of, how am I going to put this, then saying it. It's we're waiting like he is.
Yeah.
And us studying his profile, mind you, to try to get a read on his emotion.
Yeah.
To kind of like get a clue, as it's like almost like we're craning our heads to want to get a look at the screen, even though we know it's not going to change. And it's such a fascinating thing when this filmmaking, again, it's the craft displayed here in a way that's so subtle you could miss it. And it's just purely experiential.
I was thinking on that a little bit too, Kay, and it feels sometimes like the performances are so real and so intimate, for lack of a better word, that it almost feels sometimes like I shouldn't be watching this. Like I shouldn't see this. It's like, for example, let's say this happened to you, Kay, and then you called me on the phone and were like, hey, the girl that, grew up in my city and moved overseas and we've been talking a little bit, yeah, she called me and like broke up with me. And I would be there for you, man. I'd be like, oh, that sucks, dude. I'm here, come over, you can have a cry, blah, blah. But I never in my life would have seen I wouldn't have been there to watch your real reaction to it. You could tell me, you know what, man, I'm fine. When she said it, I was actually like kind of chill about it. It's all good. I'm like, awesome, man. Like, I'm glad that you were good and you understood and blah, blah. And if you want to let that out now here with me, safe space. But there are aspects of that and all of it, and particularly like as we like look to wrap up in a little bit as well, like as we talk about like the ending of the film, it does feel somewhat like if for Arthur's sake, it almost feels like he shouldn't have seen aspects of that either. And he knows. He stays far away. He doesn't watch. He sits on the steps and has his smoke because naturally he's uncomfortable. It's understandable. He probably thinks part of him is she's going to get in the taxi and drive off, you know? Like, he's putting a lot of trust in his wife there. But it's like what he wasn't a party to and what Hae Sung wasn't a party to of that walk back to the house. We're there. And it feels wrong in all the right ways. Tate, did you want to add to that, or add something different?
I did. I'll make it short because I know we're doing nothing. But it's kind of wanted to draw from all of you in this thing that I've just been thinking about as I listen to you, drawing a lot from what Johnny was talking about earlier about himself. Is if you would see him sitting having a coffee, you would expect him to be perhaps speaking in a foreign language or whatnot.
If you're racist, yeah.
I think a lot. Notes app,
Notes app, Tate, come on.
Quickly. I think a lot about like you were saying, and then going to Naf's point, the beginning of the film, where the two individuals are kind of like gossiping. Yeah, like, who do you think they are? Who do you think they're doing? What do you think this person's doing?
He's the tour guide.
And then going,
Yeah.
and then going to Keegan's point of like, you know, like an outlook, a perspective on these situations and being what you're privy to and what you're not privy to, and the full circle. It's like there's almost an inherent sense of like there's a lack of humanity when you're viewing it from this outside perspective, thinking, "Oh, I know the answers. I know what they could have done in this situation. I'm formulating my own things, but completely disregarding the complexity of these relationships and the way they're navigated." And again, once again, this is why I am a Rogue One super truther, because I believe fully that films like this, it celebrates the complexity of every single individual on this planet, however big, however small they are. If it's two people at a bar looking at this couple and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's the tour guide. Oh, maybe they're friends, maybe they're lovers, maybe they're whatever. There is a film's worth that chronicles decades of history and entanglement behind these people. And the complexity of something as simple as sitting in a bar and having a cup of coffee or having a beer, it can't be expressed in words. It can't be reduced to observations. You truly have had to have lived it. And especially in Arthur's perspective, like Neff was saying earlier, we're sitting there, is like you dream, you speak in Korean when you dream. Like there's a whole other world that I can't see. There is stuff you can't see that you will never be able to fully understand. And I think one of the takeaways is being able to reconcile with that. It's that as much as you know someone, there's something you'll never know, and that you need to be okay with. You need to be okay with the fact that things have happened that you'll never be able to understand, and secure in yourself. And I think that's a very positive message to put out in a film, especially for this generation. Obviously not trying to put bias, but especially for this generation of men to be secure in themselves. And, you know, I think that's a very good message to have out there.
No, I think that is really beautiful.
And if I may just jump in on that, because I also want to hear John's perspective on that. It kind of, as we're kind of getting into our closing thoughts about the film, I feel kind of going around and everybody kind of saying their final piece on this film. Like, and Tate, what a beautiful way to kick that off. I think for myself, like Tate, you talked about this earlier. I feel the scene when she talks about that girl you fell in love with is gone. Like that it died a long time ago, basically. And there's a lot of ways that if you hear that, it's very negative. Like a lot of people, it kind of feels very dramatic. But in the film, I think it's the nature of how it's presented is something that, I mean, Naf and I have talked about practically this entire year about ourselves, which is there are so many points in life when you make decisions and you change, where it's almost kind of talking about, as you were talking about earlier, Tate, the macro and the micro of immigration, but also the concept of progressing through life. And for, I feel a lot of people, again, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I feel like with everybody, we all experience points in our lives where we can look back at old photos from high school or middle school or things there, where it's like we can kind of remember ourselves in a very particular way. And and that person may not exist now. Maybe trauma happened, maybe other things happened, or just the natural course of life. What I love about this film is when they talk about that, and they talk about, like, I love his response to that quote of "she died a long time ago," and he says, "I think I loved her." And it's that thing of going, I have really worked hard this year to say that about parts of myself,
Mm.
and going, you were not who you are now, but you do love love that part of you. That was part of the journey that you are now, and the person that you're here with, and like meeting you guys at Celebration and things there. It truly feels like there are these moments where, as you said, Tate, we will never get to see certain parts of people's lives. You can find out about them through talks like these, or conversations that you have with them.
Late night trips to the bar.
Late night trips to the bar, answering weird questions.
Insane.
But like, my feeling is that you really get to know people with there's a certain part of them that you won't know, and maybe you'll get a privilege to know a part of it. But I think that this film kind of talks about that empathy, and why I love people. I love seeing how people progress and change, and all of the beauty that is the potential of a human being to change and grow, and their imperfections, and that it's hard. It's fucking hard being human.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard. And that's why I feel like everybody needs to have a little bit more empathy and a little bit less. It's kind of the Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that people we're all trying our best, except for those
Yeah.
who aren't. And it's like,
Yeah.
I think that you're gonna fuck up, you're gonna fail, but striving to have these moments is truly the striving to feel this way and express ourselves this way is what art's about. Is what this is about. It's about taking stuff that we can't necessarily put into words, and have someone who can give us space to talk about this, and parts of ourselves that we otherwise probably wouldn't have shared.
And I want to talk to a portion of that as well there, Kay, where and there's a quote within the film here, and I want to tie this to what you were talking about specifically. It's where Hae Sung says, I liked you for who you are, and who you are as a person who leaves. But for him, you're the person who stays. And it's the different perspectives that you can have on somebody. And I think that what that does is tie impeccably well to other films that have come out in the last few years around the different perspectives you have on a character depending on your connection to them. Particularly like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi.
Fucking God, no, you son of a
Rey's
bitch!
perspective of him.
Oh, that coming.
Well, that's been our episode, guys. That's fucking.
No, but like,
you almost forgot again, didn't you? You almost
Pep reminded
forgot.
me. Pep reminded me. No, but look,
Fuck, Pep.
if you go back,
again.
If you're watching this on YouTube and you go back
go.
and to when
18
Keegan was
plus
talking,
rated video. Here you go.
if you go in the video just back a little bit to where Keegan was talking, you will see me sitting in the corner getting real emotional about that. Because like it is painful to recognize that people change, and you love people at every aspect of their life. And again, looking at myself a year ago compared to where I am now, I feel like a different human entirely, while still having my core values be the same. But I know them now.
Yeah.
But in sort of wrapping up my thoughts on the film, clearly I love it. Like, it's like number 3 in the year for me, but my top 3 are probably equal first, if I'm honest. Yeah, like it would be an equal first for me. I think particularly the final scene I found is the single tear moment for me, where the rest of the film has that feeling of like I'm uncomfortable and sad beforehand because I know what's coming and I don't want it to happen that way. But particularly Arthur waiting outside for Nora's long walk back to the car, and I think that I can probably speak collectively for the universe in we've all had that final walk to the car. We've all had that walk onto the aeroplane after saying goodbye. We've all had that moment. And again, in the hands of a lesser filmmaker, we would start playing like a really sad song and then cut away and have the credits and have it be the end, or like cut to her having a drink later or something like that. But she just holds, and what comes in is the score. And it comes in slowly and it comes in softly and it swells the way her emotion does. And it's that last moment where John opens the gate, looks at her, and without a thought, without a glance of being curious and loving and genuine and not judgmental, all he does is hug her. And she just cries. And like, it's just that moment is like the epitome of, what's the word? Like unselfish and like genuine, pure love for somebody. Okay.
One thing with that I picked up on, I don't know if you guys did, but when she's talking to Hae Sung throughout the film, and they talk about the fact that she doesn't cry anymore, she says the reason is because no one cares. And the fact that she does it with
Arthur.
him is because he does care.
Yeah, that's really powerful, man.
That's bars.
That's really powerful.
Bars, holy shit.
Yeah. Nice one, Kay. Fuck you. Picking up on that thought.
Fuck you guys! I pay attention. Media
Johnny,
literacy for the win.
Johnny, do you have any final thoughts on the film before we look to wrap up?
One of my favorite moments was when Nora asks Hae Sung, why did you come find me? And his reasoning was just, I wanted to see you one last time. And then that one last time turned into multiple Skype calls, heartbreak, a trip to New York for all the way from Korea. Like, yeah, no, that shit hit hard. Just that one little desire of nostalgia, this illusion created from desire itself. It just too real.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
You know? Because we think it's one more time. We will always tell ourselves it's just to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But in reality, to some extent, it is with the hope that it will spark something so that it has a reason and a will to continue.
That's really beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's really profound. And a really good note for us to wrap up a little bit here. So I wanted to first thank Tate and Johnny for coming on here, helping provide the peer pressure that was required to get Keegan to watch this phenomenal movie. He constantly falls in this little camp of when people tell him something is going to be good, he then goes, well, now I don't want to watch it, or I don't want to listen to it because I'm not going to like it, out of like principle. And I think that we've done a pretty good job of showing him something that has resonated with him in a bunch of beautiful ways, and I couldn't have done that without the help of you guys. And Johnny, like, some fantastic insights as always, like, and Tate, like, man, I love listening to you talk as well. Like, you just have a way with words that's so beautiful.
Sexy accent.
Yeah. And also, having the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you, Kay. Like, we talk every day, and there's still stuff we get to learn about each other through this podcast, which is my absolute favorite thing. But this episode will be available to stream on demand anywhere you get your podcasts shortly after, probably around about tomorrow. You can follow One with the Films via our Instagram page. We're on TikTok and Twitter and all the other places as well. If you want to follow us individually, you can find me at On Second Thought. And that's, again, Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. Best plays On Second Thought on Instagram, and then use the link tree to find me anywhere else if you want more of my content. I talk film, TVs, very focused on like some Star Wars stuff as well, but generally just films in general. Johnny, where can people find you?
People can find me on pretty much all my socials under Marvelous Johnny, all one word. 2 L's. There's an H in Johnny. And
what do you do there?
There's only one H. There's no 2 H's. Tate, stop white manning to the people.
Yeah, okay.
And what do you do over on there, Johnny? What can people expect to find?
I'm mostly on my TikTok, where I talk usually about Marvel, but we are taking a break from that because reasons that we will not mention on
The
here.
internet.
Because the internet is a very hostile place. But I am mostly a comic book guy. But I do occasionally talk about movies, like when people ask me what my top 3 favorite movies of this summer were, and I listed this one as one of them. This is like number 2 for me, so yeah.
Amazing.
And you had Oppenheimer at number 1, and then Killers of the
No, I
Flower
had
Moon
John
at
Wick
number
as number 1.
Interesting.
That's good. That's a good
Listen,
movie.
that's
Ballsy.
taste.
And speaking of
It literally
taste,
is mine.
speaking of taste, Tate, where can we find you and what can we find?
Tasteful Tate.
Oof. Okay. No pressure. Okay. I always mess this up on every single podcast. Let me just check. I forget. All right. So on TikTok, Star Wars Facts Guy _ on both sides, right? And then on Instagram, Star Wars Facts Guy _ on both sides. I talk about Star Wars all the time. It's more of a like sunk cost fallacy at this point that I talk about Star Wars all the time. I'm kind of just too deep into it. But we be branching out 2024. We're gonna be talking about a whole bunch of things. Johnny will gaslight me to talk.
Talk about like the Roman Empire.
Johnny's my Roman Empire. I'll talk about anything he wants to talk about.
Okay.
If he's nice to me, I'll even talk about the MCU, but that's no promises. And I will be talking.
You talked about the Marvels.
I did a lot of. I thought it was very cute. I like the Marvels. But yes, go follow me there. I've been stuck on 62.1 thousand for the past year and a half. Let's get to 62.2 thousand.
Hell yeah,
Please.
baby. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Let's
I
do
mean,
this.
we're stuck on 52 on TikTok, so congrats on
I'm
your
stuck
62.
at 9.5.
And like,
That's right.
I'm talking like, do you remember that scene in Willy Wonka where it's like, how many did you have? 2,000. No, 2. Well, I can't work out just 2.
2.
That's where we're at. 51, not 51,000.
correct.
And Keegan, where can we find you, my babe?
Well, I am at Movie Man Opinions on everything except on TikTok, where I am just I'm sorry, not TikTok, on Twitter. Yeah, or fucking X. On.
Don't call its fake name. Don't.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. No, I just need to do the throw up noise afterwards. But the then I am Movie Man Opinion. So just one.
Nice. Do the Raglan quote and we're done.
Okay.
We should be reconnected there.
All right.
You should
Let me
You
just
should
make
pair this movie with.
Yep, we're back.
Oppenheimer.
Well,
Okay, there we
we
go.
were talking
Hold on.
about where
I
we
know
could
what I'm
find.
choosing for the pairing.
We know where we could find Kay, so we've got all of that sorted. Sorry about that, guys. That being said, before we do our
Where can we
final
find you,
wrap-up-
Naf?
I already said it.
Before we're
I
gonna
already
do
said
that.
it.
Oh, you already did it?
Yeah,
You not
again, not paying attention.
Hey, listen,
I'm
I
the
didn't
only
have
one
the
that's
first one.
listening.
I
Yeah, that's
appreciate
I'm the
fair.
only one that's listening.
That's
I'm
fair.
gonna
but
fire
he's my
these guys
co-host, so
and
that's
be
at
just
some
mean
point.
you.
All right, so as we go,
Go ahead.
I
Kay.
can introduce the segment. So now here's the thing. Guys, one of the new things that we do around here is because we want you guys to be able to experience so many new films, a lot of which we may not have a chance to cover on our podcast. We probably will, but it is a good place to be able to do it. We are going to welcome you to a Cinema a la carte. And now we are going to be with your guest, Obscure Accent, and we are going to make sure that you have a good time. Now, a part of Cinema a la carte is that we pick a film unrelated to this film that we think would be a good pairing, like wines. Like, what would you pair with the food? Like, main course, what would be that afterwards? So, for example, with this film, was something that is so interesting, something that is so lived in and almost feels documentary-like, but is very passionately, I guess, just a little bit different. I would go with 2 films, both of which that I feel really represent this type of story very well. One of which we're going to be doing not terribly long from now, so you'll have to kind of guess when that's coming. But one is Drive My Car, and the other is Nomadland. 2 Best Picture nominees, 1 Best Picture winner. Nomadland, directed by Chloe Zhao, is incredible. This film is a very meditative film. That's why I recommend it to pair with this. Is
Chloe
because if you
Zhao
enjoy,
also made one of the best modern MCU films. Just saying.
I agree. Yep. Check out my video on that. And so, shameless plug. But Drive My Car was one of the best surprises that I have had in the past couple of years
I'm
of
excited to watch
filmmaking. That one is very exciting, and Nomadland is just incredibly. It is just very meditative. So I think that if you guys enjoy that part, going and doing that is going to be the best way to do it.
Beautiful.
What,
Well,
Jad?
I'm proud of you, Keegan. You chose a movie starring Asians and a movie directed by an Asian. Clap for the white man, people.
Yeah,
nice.
the white man did good. How often do we get to say that? And you know,
Last war crime you guys did.
I get it.
okay.
Well,
See what
for
else?
myself, I'd given it a little bit of thought, and I had some thoughts on like similar films, and I was hoping that I would have like seen more to be able to tie it back in that sense as well. But mine are two films. One of them is actually mentioned in this movie. It's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I think that it does tie into it just enough. You know, not necessarily not the supernatural, but like the sci-fi aspects of it. But that story of like love, I suppose, and what it is and what it means to love, and those questions that come up when you're with somebody, you know, of like, should I have been there, or what draws me to this person, you know, is it the 8,000 layers of yin-yang that's brought me back to this person, or is it that somebody wiped my brain and didn't do a very good job? And the other one was La La Land, and it was mostly for the towards the end of the film where you do have to sit in that two opposing truths at the same time, you know, like I want it to happen, I understand why it didn't. There we go. Those are my two pairings.
Okay, I do luckily still have some more up my sleeve.
Go, Johnny.
Okay, one.
Were you upset because he stole yours?
He stole both. I was gonna say La La Land and the Eternal Sunshines of the Spotless Mind. Anyways. Okay, first one, About Time. The one with Rachel McAdams and the time traveling one.
Yep, Domhnall Gleeson.
Movie.
Yeah, that one with one of the Weasley brothers.
Domhnall
The other,
Gleeson.
yes,
General
the
Hux.
TV show, General Hux. You know,
Star
from Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and the TV show Love Life.
Love Life. Okay, cool.
It's really good. The main reason why I even checked that one out is because William Jackson Harper's in it.
Okay.
But overall,
my love.
It's got a fair bit of heartbreak as well in it. It does explore the themes of love.
Heartbreak?
Ah!
I hate you.
I'll be here all week.
Is it Love/Life? Is it that one, or is it a different one?
It's just Love Life. It was a TV show. It's got 2 seasons.
Okay.
Came
I'll
out in
check that out.
2020.
Oh, I know which
Anna
one
Kendrick's
you're
in
talking
it.
about.
Yeah.
Cool. Dope.
I think that one fits
Yeah,
well
I like
within
that
the
too.
themes of past lives. Yeah.
And Tate, did you have any pairings that you wanted to share?
Oh man, I suck at this. Why are you asking me tough questions at like 5 in the afternoon? Okay. I will give two. They are for two completely different reasons. I'm gonna say it, and you guys are gonna be like, "What the heck is this guy talking about?" Okay. Go watch Rye Lane. Go watch that as well. Pair it together. I'll tell you this for one reason. This is the reason, and unfortunately, because I am again sunk cost fallacy, I will draw it back to Star Wars because that's all I know how to talk about, as you can see.
Fair
when
enough.
people watch one flavor of something that really resonates with them, they think, "Oh shit, everything needs to be exactly like this," right? You watch something like Andor, and it's like, "Oh my god, all of Star Wars needs to be like Andor." No, that's
And
dumb.
they would
Don't
be
listen to-
right.
I mean, yes, quality, but like tone, narrative.
I hear what you're
get
saying,
what you're
Tate. Yeah.
Screw them. Don't listen to people like that. They don't shower, right? If Past Lives is the super realistic, yes, this is how the real world is. This is the reality and the gravity, and this is what I'm able to capture as a filmmaker, is to capture that raw reality. Rye Lane is the perfect palate cleanser of that, which is like, you know what? It's okay to dream. It's okay to embrace love. It's okay to embrace the fantasy of romance and of falling in love and out of love. And just as much as Past Lives is a decade-spanning love story, Rye Lane is a 2 days, a week at best love story. It's a perfect parallel to how love
that's
can
beautiful.
be this big thing.
Yep.
It can be a big thing, or it can be a small thing.
Yeah.
It is a many-faceted, multifaceted thing. So go watch Rye Lane after that. It'll be a nice palate cleanser.
I believe in
watch
most
it
countries
before.
it's on
Bad
Disney
idea.
Plus as well. Like it's
It is on Disney
yeah.
Plus.
So like, and that's my
Absolutely.
number 2 film of the year. Well, technically equal first.
Probably
and
for us,
first.
it's Hulu.
Go
Yeah.
watch that. And then my second one, if you want another movie to make you feel even more sad, you should watch Her. Her is a really
Ooh,
great
that
film.
is a
Great
good pick.
choice.
That's
a
a
good pick for
wonderful
this.
choice. If you want another film that talks about what it means to be in love,
Like,
or
what
if
is
you
love?
if the idealized partner that
Baby, don't
says
hurt
yes
me.
to everything and does everything that you want to do, and you find out how absolutely incredibly hollow that is, and that love is just as important for every fumble and mistake as it is for every wonderful thing. And that
Beautiful.
is what love is. Another film you have to watch twice, like Nev said. You need to watch that one
Mhm.
twice.
Yeah.
But those are my two picks.
So
That's
all the
beautiful.
heartbreak, got it.
I would
Yeah,
add
it's
the TV show Normal People as well. That's fantastic. If you guys haven't seen that, that's very painful to watch. But on that, as we do at the end of each episode, we announce the film that we're going to be watching next week. Now, next week, Keegan is on leave, so I have a replacement host for him.
So you all can skip that one.
It's
What?
it's one of my friend's Dreamscape visuals, and I asked him to get me a weird film that there's no chance I would have seen. And what we're going to be watching is The Signal from 2014. It's a science fiction film that stars oh man, I can't remember the
Lawrence
kid's name.
Fishburne.
But it has Lawrence Fishburne in it. It has Olivia Cook in it, which you guys would know from Me, Earl and the Dying Girl and House of the Dragon. And then it has, let me grab his name, but the kid who plays Will Turner's son in the latest Pirates of the Caribbean
Oh,
film.
Brandon
Yep.
Thwaites?
Brendan Thwaites.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one.
Brandon Urie, yeah.
Brenton Thwaites. So the three of them, and I
He's
have
Aussie.
no idea what I'm getting into. I've just found the movie, so I'm going to watch that tonight, and it'll be all over socials and stuff for you guys to check out. But that's what we're going to be watching next week. So if you're still here, save that to your watch list, watch it this week, and join us next week as we break down The Signal 2014 with me and Dreamscape Visuals, also known as Nick. With that, Kay, anything you wanted to say to take us out, my man?
Of course I do, Neff. You know, I always like to just take us out with something deep.
Pause.
I mean, if
Pause.
yes,
You want to take us out with something deep?
Hey!
no, I want to take you
I mean,
in
I'm sold.
with something deep.
That's what I'm
But,
saying. All right.
but you know, all right. So
It'd
now
be
here we go.
fun being in the same room with the
Mm.
four of us in a few months, isn't it?
And if you guys want to be able to see what this chaos is going to be like, one of the films will be hosting the Diacon opening night party. So if you're interested in something like
God.
that, we will be having fun in all the ways. So if you want to hear our chaotic asses in person, you know where to find us. Now, the thing is, guys, thank you so much for joining us over here. Thank you so much for paying attention. We know that your time is valuable, and we hope that we contribute a little bit to it. We just want to make sure that you know a couple of things, and I want to leave you with something that has really stuck with me throughout the years, something that I really thought was deep and meaningful, that wasn't physical. And so as this thing goes, I just really want to leave you with a quote from my friend Raglan. A flailing monkey brings both pleasure and pain.
What do you mean by that?
Kind of pleasure.
Who's to say?
Why is the monkey involved?
I love monkeys.
I don't know.
I really do.
You have independent zoo energy. I don't know, like kind of just
I-
sort of